Hi, everyone. I just wanted to kind of um, start on this study guide so we can spend some more time. It's also a good review for your quiz, which you'll have next class if you're watching this on the day that you're supposed to be watching it. Um, Anyways, so I wanted to go over this. I know we've gone over a lot of it in class already. Um, I want to just kind of review some key points so that you guys are comfortable. I know we've had a lot of breaks in between, and I want to wrap up this unit as quickly as possible so that we can get started on the next unit. So here we go. Um, so we've been, oops, sorry, talking about similar figures. Now, as a just as a reminder, similar figures are polygons that have identical angle measures, but but the sides are proportional, which means that they form a ratio, and that ratio is the same for every set of corresponding sides. So remember that when I reminded you that order matters when they're being specific about which one's which, like if we want to do figure A to figure B. So if I'm doing figure A to figure B, hold on, sorry guys, this is a little bit testy. I'm going to start, this is going to be my top one, and this is going to be my bottom one. Now, how do I figure out which ones correspond? Well, that would be, obviously the larger side goes with the larger side here. So I'm going to go ahead and do 36 divided by 20. That's the scale factor. Now we want to go ahead and reduce that fraction, and we want to do that by using our calculator. So I don't have a calculator app on here, but I'm going to go ahead and reduce it. These are both divisible by 4, so this would be 9 over 5. Okay? Now, this one wants figure B to figure A, so this is where you have to pay attention. So I know that, remember, I encourage you guys to use your highlighters. So, like, first of all, I'm going to look for my smallest side here, and that's right here. So I'm going to look for my smallest side on this figure, and that's right there. Now, since I only need one scale factor, I'm already being told that these are similar. So I'm going to go ahead and do that scale factor, which is 9 over 12, which then reduces to 3/4. Okay? Now, when we're given a similarity statement and we have to solve for a value, this is when we have to pay attention. So here I know that KL corresponds with VW. All right? And then KJ, which is right here, corresponds with VU, which is right here. So then I use that to go ahead and set up my proportion. Now it doesn't matter when you're solving for a variable, it doesn't matter which one's on top or which one's on the bottom, as long as you're doing, like if I do the larger figure on the top here, it has to be the larger figure on the other side. So if I do 25 over 20, I need to, and I'm going to go ahead and erase this because I need to make this a little bit smaller. If I do 25 over 20, I need to make sure that the bigger side is on the top of the other side of my fraction. So I have 25 over 20. Now, what did I teach you guys to do? I taught you to go ahead and reduce this if you can. If you have two numbers right here, you can reduce it. So that's 5 over 4. And that is my scale factor. So I'm going to use that scale factor of 5 over 4. And I'm going to do the bigger side over here. So that's 4x minus 23. And on the bottom, it's 2x plus 2. And then I cross multiply and divide. Okay, so I'm going to do 4 times 4x minus 23 and set that equal to 5 times 2x plus 2. Okay, so then I distribute this 4. So 4 times 4 is 16x minus 23 times 4. And that's 92 is equal to 10x plus 10. All right, bring the variable to one side. All right, and I get 6x minus 92 is equal to 10. And I add 92. And I get 6x is equal to 102. And I divide by 6. So x is equal to 17. All right, and we're going to keep going. All right. So for this one, I have LM. So LM is right here. And I know that corresponds with LR. And what about NL? I'm going to do a different color. NL corresponds with SL. So there we go. So again, what's nice when I have it like this is that I can reduce this. So I have 28 rats. So I have 28 over 24. And I can reduce that to 7 over 6, right, is equal to, and I'm going to go ahead and erase that because I can't see that. So that's is equal to 3x minus 1, that's on the bigger triangle, right, over x plus 7. And then I cross multiply and divide. So I have 6 times 3x minus 1 is equal to 7 times x plus 7. So I've got 18x, oops, 18, sorry, 18x minus 6 equals 7x plus 49. And I add 6. So I have 18x, oops, equals 7x plus 55. And then I go ahead and I subtract this 7x. And I have 11x equals 55. Divide by 11. So x is equal to 5. So far, so good. Okay. Now, moving on. Same thing here. I'm going to just go through each one. You do not need to watch this whole video, but I want to keep going through each problem just so that everybody's really comfortable with it. So I have DE is proportional to JK, right? So then I can come up with my scale factor, which is 10 over 25. I just reduce that fraction. That's 2/5. Right, so then I do 2 over 5 is equal to, okay, smaller numbers on top, so I use the smaller triangle, x plus 11 divided by 6x plus 3. And then I, once again, cross multiply. So I do 2 times 6x plus 3 equals 5 times x plus 11. So I have 12x plus 6 equals 5x plus 55. I bring the x to one side, right? So I get 7x plus 6 equals 55. I subtract 6, And I get 7x is equal to 49. Divide by 7. I get x is equal to 7. All right, keep moving on. All right, so I've got PR is proportional to TR. So this I can't reduce yet because I've got, you have to be really careful. See how PR and TR are corresponding? So I would do 60 over 4x minus 26. Now, if you guys are getting really ambitious, you could probably reduce this a little by dividing everything by 2, but let's just go with the flow here. So then we're going to just go ahead and do 38 divided by 2x minus 1. And now we cross multiply. So 38 times 4x minus 26 is equal to 60 times 2x minus 1. So 38 times 4 is equal to 152x. And 26 times 38 is 988 equals 120x minus 60. All right, now let's make this easy on ourselves by just bringing the variable to one side. The numbers are big, but not too horrible. So I get 32x minus 988 equals negative 60, and then I add 988. This is always really good practice for your Algebra 1's problem solving skills, and we can always use extra practice for that. So that's 928, and then I divide both sides by 32, and that's 29. Okay, so next one. If triangle CDE is similar to WXY with a scale factor of 4 to 3, find the perimeter. So let's think about this. If we know that these are proportional of a factor of 4 to 3, we can solve for each one of these sides separately, or we could just use the perimeter and just do one proportion. Okay, so the perimeter of this triangle is, remember, perimeter is you just add up the sides. So that's 13 plus 29 plus 22. That's equal to 64. Okay, so the perimeter of this triangle is 64. So I know this side, this triangle is larger, right? We can tell here. So here's the scale factor of 4 to 3. And the perimeter of the larger triangle is 64, and we need to solve for the perimeter of the other one. So I get 4 times x is equal to 64 times 3, which is 192, and I divide by 4. And that's 48. So x is equal to 48. So the perimeter of this triangle is 48. Now we can again solve for each one of the sides separately and add them together, but that would be additional problems that we don't need. Okay, now moving on to proving triangles similar. Remember that we can prove triangles by angle, angle, side, 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 or side, angle, side. So we're going to complete the similarity statement, but we have to double check. All right, so one of the things, remember that in order for triangles to be similar, the angles have to be congruent. And the sides are proportional by the same proportion. Okay, so once again, in order to figure out, okay, so first of all, these two angles are congruent. I know these are vertical angles. Okay? So those are the angles. So we want to do side angle side. Now, to match up the sides, be very careful. Okay, here's the smallest side for this triangle, so I have to match it up with the smallest side for this triangle as well. So I do 15 divided by 21, and I reduce that, and that's 5/7. Now this one you're going to get, it's a little funky. So you've got 28 divided by 39.2. What you can do is take your calculator and do 28 divided by 39.2, and you get a fraction or a decimal, I'm sorry. So I want you to press your math button, which is right underneath your green button on your calculator, and press enter twice. And that changes it to a fraction, which is 5/7. So these are similar by side angle side similarity. And so we say, okay, triangle PKM is similar to triangle LQM. Remember, order is so important, so be very careful. Okay? Now this one, remember that the angles of it, we have two triangles. We have this triangle right here. They both share a one angle, right? This 47-degree angle. So this is 98. So to get this angle right here, I'm going to do 180 minus 98 minus 47, and that's going to give me 35. So this angle should be 35 degrees. Now what about this one? So far it doesn't look too promising, because remember, these angles all have to be the same. So here I'm going to do 180 minus 38 minus 47. And that gives me 95. Okay, so since these angles are not congruent, they're not similar. Okay, they have to be, corresponding angles have to be congruent. All right, so we're at 2 pages through your review. There are 8 pages. Let's go ahead and look at this one. All right. These are a lot of the same problems that we've already done. I would strongly suggest what you guys should do is probably pause the video and try to do these problems and double check your work. While I'm doing them, we'll finish. I'll finish these while you guys are hopefully you guys will pause the video and try to do your own. So this is figure B to figure A. So remember, I'm going to just choose the easiest side. This is the smallest side on this triangle, so I find the small side of this triangle. And B is the smaller triangle, so I'm going to do 4/10, and that reduces to 2/5. When I do that, that's on the left of the colon and right. Okay, so the scale factor of A to B is 3/8. What is x? So that's x over 24. Now, one of the things that you can see is that 8 times 3 is equal to 24. So if I did 3 times 3, that would give me 9. If you remember working with equivalent fractions. If not, let's just do your cross multiplication. That's 8 times x is equal to 3 times 24, which I believe is 72. And I'd solve by dividing by 8, and x is equal to 9. Okay, and let's keep going. Oops. There we Okay, so what is the scale factor? We're doing a perimeter problem again. So the scale factor is 5 to 6. So this is the smaller triangle. So let's find the perimeter of this one. We just add up the sides. So that's 14 plus 11 plus 17, and that's 42. And remember, that's the larger triangle. So I'm going to do 5 over 6 is equal to some number over 42. Now, if you remember what I said about equivalent fractions, you should probably think it's going to be 7, but let me show you why. So I do 6 times x is equal to 5 times 42, and that's 210. And then I divide by 6 on both sides, and that's 35. How did I know that? I knew that because 6 times 7 is 42, so 5 times 7 is 35. Okay? Now, for this one, find the value of x. So I know that this triangle CDE is similar to FGE. And again, let's pay attention to which side is corresponding to which. So for DE, which is right here, this is correspondent to GE. So let's do the scale factor for that. 25 over 40, we can reduce that fraction to 5/8, right? So we're going to do 5/8 is equal to 27 over x, right? Because 8 is the bigger number. So this bigger triangle has to be on the bottom. So 5x is equal to 8 times 27, and that's 216, and I divide by 5. Don't be afraid if you get a decimal. It's not always wrong. Okay? Just make sure that you set everything up correctly. All right, so once again, we're going to find the value of x here. I have, from my similarity statement, I see that BH corresponds with BH is YL, right? So let's do this. Let's do 28 over 21. Those reduce to 4/3, right? Okay, so I'm going to do 4 over 3 is equal to the side of the larger triangle, 3x minus 7, divided by x plus 11. I cross multiply, so 3 times 3x minus 7 equals 4 times x plus 11. So I get 9x minus 21 is equal to 4x plus 44. I take away 4x, and I get 5x minus 21 is equal to 44. I add 21, so I get 5x is equal to 65. Divide by 5, x is equal to 13. Okay, since we're about at 25 minutes, I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of this on, or at least some of it. I'm going to split this up so these aren't the longest videos in the world. So hopefully this should help you get you started. This is a lot of what the quiz is about, so hopefully you're looking at this too. So